of Mark chapter 5 verse 21, when Jesus had again crossed over by the boat on the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He pleaded earnestly with him, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live." So Jesus went with him. A large crowd followed and pressed around him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. I think the mic needs to be put good. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her heart, in her body, that she was freed from her suffering. Jesus. I'm sorry. Let me go back from verse 20. Let me go back from verse 20. 24. Let me read from 24, please. And make my mic okay. So Jesus went with him, Jairus, and a large crowd followed and pressed around him. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors. I want you to note those words. And had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. That can be torturing. It can be torturing from inside. So when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in a crowd and touched his cloak, because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I'll be healed. Immediately her bleeding stopped. She felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once Jesus realized that the power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" You see the people crowding against you, his disciples answered, and yet you can ask, "Who touched me?" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it, meaning the woman took long to show up, to come to Jesus. Then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear told him the whole truth, maybe how this sickness came to be and all that. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Now, I want you to see this scenario, that this woman is coming privately, secretly, with no one knowing, because she had a stigma. She was already tortured. She had visited a number of doctors, but there was no change, meaning something was already torturing her mind. Her heart was disturbed. Her soul now was involved in the sickness, because many doctors could not heal her. And the woman decided, let me just touch, without saying, without reporting my problem again. I mean, if I can say, some people reach that level, and you feel like, even if I say, let me just keep my thing, let me keep my, this woman was already tortured from inside. She was not okay. she was not in a good shape at all. That is why she did not even show up when Jesus asked, who touched me? The Bible says that after some time is when she came out. And when she came out, she came trembling. The Bible says she was trembling. And then she told Jesus the whole truth, everything. It was like a pouring out of the heart. It was like a pouring out of the soul. And this sickness which she had was no longer like a physical only, but it was a sickness of the soul, which is today a common problem to mankind. As I said yesterday on our Zoom meeting, so sickness or so injury is referred to by the term broken-hearted. This woman was already broken-hearted. She was already wounded, and this broken-heartedness, the term describes the inner hearts of the soul. She was already hurt inside. No one is there to help me, but Jesus came for people like this, and this was included in his mission statement. Actually, if you read in the book of Luke chapter 4 verses 18, and these are words of Jesus in the book of Luke chapter 4 verses 18. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to release the oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. If we can also read in the maybe in NIV, in New King James.